So instead of just one wrap-up show at the end of the week, we're now here to give you 4 shows each and every week on Wrestle Chat TV. Welcome to Dynamite Dissection, the very first episode. Hey, it's the Ant-Man here to break down last night's AEW Dynamite, and joining me once again, you know, if he could be the third best friend with MJF and Adam Cole, I think he would be. Michael Glavin, welcome in, buddy. I'm sorry that we haven't had a chance to head to Outback Steakhouse and share a meal like MJF and Adam Cole. Best I can do is another podcast. Does that work for you?
I guess it works. I mean, there's something to be said about breaking bread and steak together, but I'll take a podcast for now. Let's do it.
We'll get there. Maybe for lunch. It's interesting to see the change of pace and the change of style in storytelling when you go from Monday to Wednesday. WWE Raw to AEW Dynamite. AEW sprinting to the finish line that is AEW All In, coming up at Wembley Stadium. It's going down in only 10 days, and in comparison from the time of the announcement of that show to the time of the announcement of the very first match, this next week and a half is certainly going to feel like a sprint. Do you have any personal feelings on the style and the pace that AEW takes in their storytelling?
You know, no one can deny that what they're doing is successful, but I think what we're looking at is conditioning versus maybe a realistic expectation. WWE has conditioned us that everything feels incredibly polished. It's almost predictable in a lot of situations. AEW is an interesting animal because what it feels like is a little bit of that WCW creative control clauses and contracts where everyone really is collaborating, but without the toxic nature that we have learned about in WCW. So what it feels like is a more week-to-week pace of like, hey, this is the part of the story that we're going to tell this week. So I definitely cannot throw any stones at it because it's working. But it does make the product in this weird way feel a little bit more fragile, even though it's not. And so while you initially want to be like, that's just not my kind of storytelling, is it really not your kind of storytelling, or are you just conditioned for something different? Yeah. And so I love watching AEW because it gives me a different flavor and a different feeling of what I'm used to seeing from the WWE. One is not greater than the other. It's just two different styles. And, I heard someone say on YouTube today, it is the greatest and most successful time in professional wrestling, and it truly is, because we get all these different flavors together.
Boy, and great thought and point on the conditioning, because there's been 40 plus, 50 plus years. You may not be that old, but if you just got into wrestling in WWE was what you started with, that's kind of like what you judge everything else by. In turn, if you got into wrestling in AEW, you look at WWE stuff and maybe think something different. I want to jump in here. One huge match that was just announced last night for AEW All In was a dream match it was planned to go down in New Japan with the Ocho, Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay. It was originally planned to go down in 2021. However, that was still when many required proof of compliance and a non-lucha face covering. Many wonder if this match was has the same intrigue that it would have had back in 2021. I would say maybe it has more today. Definitely a much bigger audience than it would have had. Where do you stand on this match with Chris Jericho and Ospreay and the intrigue of 2021 versus now?
This is one of those matches that I use this analogy all the time. I mean, probably dang near every episode I say this, but or at least call back to this match. But this is that Triple H Undertaker match.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to have anything except the two guys. While they are building a story going into it, it has not lost any momentum since 2021. It is a good things come to those who wait type situation. I mean, it's a dream match, and there's nothing else you can say. If you're somebody that's saying, oh, hey, it feels a little stale going into it, no offense, I love you as a person, but you're a moron. Okay, this is a dream match that you should be paying big money to see. That's it. Period. The end. I have no other thoughts.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Bring it.
And in addition to the 80,000 in attendance, there'll be many more buying it on August 27th. Looking forward to that. The Celebration of Friendship on WWE with Jericho and Kevin Owens is still a short-lived series that many wish today would have had a longer ride. That could be hindsight as 2020, wishing for more of what could have been. In that same vein, though, I believe we're going to look back on MJF and Adam Cole with some similar feelings. Say what you want about putting these guys in the pre-show match against the Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, but then having them feud in the main event of All In. But listen, let's scrap everything else and look at it for what it is. They're telling a story. They're telling a story that's fun. They're telling a story that's entertaining. We all know where it's headed, but I'm enjoying the ride. Do you find yourself on the side of, why are they doing this? Or are you on the side of, man, let's sit back and watch. This is fun.
Maybe this episode should be called Nurture versus Nature, because initially I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Why? This makes no sense. And then what I realized is we were joking about this the other day. I said to myself, are you just
shout out to Conrad. There you go.
Shout out to Conrad. Are you just being a grumpy old wrestler complaining that kayfabe is not a thing anymore? And I said, you're right. I am being the grumpy old wrestler in the corner who's griping that kayfabe isn't a thing anymore. In reality, here's what's happening. We are demonstrating the true complexity of human relationships, which wrestling has always been very black and white and linear about. We can be cool in a tag match, and we can not be cool, in a World Heavyweight Championship match. Yeah. And so I like what they're doing. Obviously, to quote Dodgeball, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We're going to have to see how it plays out. But I'm here. I'm for it. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I think there's some great story that could be told through the duration of the entire show. Man, I would love to see a couple backstage segments where, hey, we're on, and then we're off, and then we're on, and then we're off. And there's so much potential for cool storytelling. I'm anxious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and if they kept something similar to the vignettes that they've been doing throughout All In, you're right, that would be a lot of fun. This convo's not just between me and Michael. We want you to chime in too. Drop a comment on this video with your thoughts. Plus, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and thumbs up on this video. It would mean a lot to us. Lastly, we've got to touch on this. We have to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre match. I'm not even sure really how to kick off this conversation. Unique concept for sure. I'm glad it ended in the ring. For those in attendance, I was thinking, man, you've only got to, you watch 7/8 of the match on a screen, just like me and Michael did. You guys that paid money to go to it, you could only watch the majority of this match because it all happened under the bleachers or backstage. Let me ask you this, though. If the majority of a match like this doesn't happen in the ring, just for the nature of what it is, would you rather see a cinematic match that was all filmed beforehand, or do like they did, handheld cameras following the contestants throughout the arena? If you're there in attendance, which one would you rather see?
That's a great question, and you're catching me a little off guard with it. I would probably say, I would probably lean still to the live element and have cameras follow around. Cinematic matches are great. I think we've seen, I think it's been attempted several times, and even in all of them being successful, there's only a few, possibly even one, that you're like, man, I'm glad they did it that way.
Sure.
So I'm still gonna lean toward the live, even if it doesn't happen, completely, in the ring or around the ring. I think that's fine. But it is an interesting concept to see, to have to weigh those two out.
With Jey Uso leaving WWE, a lot of speculation was that Leatherface was Jey Uso online last night after the match. Most importantly through this whole thing, though, is that Jeff Jarrett won the title. I didn't know there was going to be an actual title, a physical belt that he got at the end of this match, or that there was something of that nature that was on the line, but I'm glad that Jeff Jarrett gets to add to that collection. Any other overall feelings about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre match?
I have a few.
Let's hear some of them.
First of all, Leatherface coming into that match is the modern day equivalent of the gobbledygooker.
You mean Jay
that
Uso.
was so beyond unnecessary and served pretty much no purpose, and it kind of gimmicked the match a little bit, which was otherwise just a hardcore match. I don't know if they got money from Fox or Paramount or whoever owns the rights to that movie. All that to say, I thought it was a cool match. It was neat to see all the people involved and everything like that. We talked several weeks ago about AEW's balance and juggle of the whole hardcore concept and how often do we do it, this, that, whatever. It felt a little indie promotion for me, the shock and awe.
Yeah.
I realized why we needed to do it and that we were promoting games or movies or whatever we're doing with this, that, whatever. But I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm not saying it was my favorite thing either. But it was interesting. Hopefully stuff like that is few and far between. Not throwing stones. Glad I watched it. Glad I saw it. It was a great thing. I'm always cautious about more spot and gimmick heavy matches like that just for the safety of the performers. So.
This is as political as I'll get on our podcast, but it is interesting to see the wrestling community doing more for Maui than our government at the moment. And so it's really cool to see what Tony did in stepping up and moving up Fight for the Fallen for this series of shows, all to benefit the Maui Food Bank. So if there's a way that you can help, you want to make a donation, $1, $10, $1,000, whatever it wants, go to Maui Food Bank on Twitter, and all the details are there on how you could help. We're just 10 days away from AEW's All In at Wembley Stadium in London. Over 80,000 will be in attendance, no doubt. That is going to be huge. Weigh in on what you thought of Dynamite last night, and be sure to connect with us on social media too. Just look us up, Wrestle Chat TV. Before we go, there was a tweet that MJF shared with Logan Paul this week, and MJF was ranked at number 1 on ESPN's top 30 under 30 when it came to pro wrestling. And his tweet said, "Yo, Logan, I'm a big fan, and I heard you were very upset about your ranking on the ESPN top 30 under 30. I couldn't agree with you more. The list was flawed. What the hell is a Vikingo? Would love to come on Impulsive and talk about the list, as well as the fact that AEW is about to run the biggest show in the history of the sport on August 27th. Hopefully, your boss and our mutual friend, jolly old Saint Nick, will allow it. P.S. I wrote this whilst sipping on a Prime. Yours sincerely, numero uno, MJF."
That guy
Bravo.
is a gift. That guy is just a gift.
Bravo. I hope that happens. I think it would be absolutely amazing to see MJF pop up on Impulsive and to see all of the fun that would come out of that. Well, that's going to do it for this week. For Michael Glavin, I'm the Ant-Man, and we're going to see you on Saturday to wrap up the entire week in pro wrestling on the Wrestle Chat podcast. Hope to see you then.